Good morning and welcome. And thank everyone for being with us here this morning. I want to thank this group of community leaders and concerned citizens and my fellow colleagues from the Senate Republican Caucus who are standing with me today. We have Cynthia Jennings, Gwen Samuel, Antonia Edwards, the Reverendernestine Holloway, Reggie Hale, Randy Watson, and especially Bridget Prince, as well as Senators Tony Hwang and Rob Sampson. Bridget Prince is a veteran and advocate for transparency and good government, who reached out to our office to share her concerns and who has worked tirelessly to bring many voices and perspectives together. We are here today because we all agree that our government must be accountable to its people. We share these same goals. We want transparency and accountability when it comes to taxpayer dollars. We want to help the most vulnerable. We believe people have a right to know how their money is being spent and must have guarantees that their tax dollars are making it to where it is intended to go. That is why we question the state's handling of the federal COVID-19 relief funds amid allegations of misuse, a federal FBI probe, and arrests in West Haven. It is why we call for bipartisan public hearings to shine a light on this process. The pandemic created unprecedented challenges for Connecticut families, and the federal COVID relief dollars were targeted to help those most vulnerable individuals. The CARES Act funds were entrusted to our state to protect the poor, the struggling, the homeless, and the hungry. They were intended to help towns and cities pay for public health and medical expenses, offer economic support and recovery planning, help the most vulnerable enroll in services, and support frontline workers. To hear of alleged misuse of these funds is infuriating and unacceptable. It raises serious questions whether proper safeguards are in place. And while the state is pursuing an audit of spending in each town and city across our state, that is just a start, but by no means a finish. In addition to the oversight of these towns and cities, we need oversight of the state itself. We need oversight on how the governor's administration managed the distribution of these funds. We need answers to our questions about what policies and protocols were put in place by the governor's budget office so that we can prevent the alleged fraud from happening again and protect the much needed COVID funds for the vulnerable people that they were targeted to be for. We've asked the administration our questions. We've written letters. We've called for public hearings. We've offered to meet one-on-one. The response so far has been silence. So today I stand here with citizens who share our concerns. We are asking for something simple: answers and transparency. A public hearing is the first step to rebuilding public trust, to restore confidence, and to ensure the proper protective policies are in place to promote equity and compliance with the law. With that, I would like to turn this over to Cynthia Jennings, a civil rights attorney and former Hartford City Councilwoman who shares these concerns. Cynthia?
Thank you, Senator. And I wanted to thank Senator Kelly and his office for working with us on this very important venture. As he said, my name is Cynthia Jennings. I'm a civil rights attorney, and I will address why African Americans of the Democratic Party are reaching across the aisle to leaders in the Republican Party. As Connecticut taxpayers, we have a common interest in ensuring that every Connecticut community, including Black and brown communities, receives their fair share of COVID-19 monies. Fairness and equity. Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Sorry about that.
Okay. All right, I'll start again from the middle. I will address why African American members of the Democratic Party are reaching across the aisle to leaders in the Republican Party. As Connecticut taxpayers, we have a common interest in assuring that every Connecticut community, including Black and brown communities, receives their fair share of COVID-19 monies. Fairness and equity are nonpartisan issues. And to this end, it is ultimately about reaching across the aisle where there is an issue of common interest. This common interest is the fair and equitable distribution of COVID monies. This includes to Connecticut's Black and brown communities, which has suffered tremendous loss of life, loss of businesses, loss of employment, and loss of educational opportunities for our children. Reaching across the aisle is about establishing a nonpartisan relationship with all of our elected officials. We also want to assure that COVID monies are released immediately to communities in need. This goal is about no repurposing or reusing of COVID monies by any party or any entity for other purposes other than what it was intended and stated for. These are all public monies. These monies are critical to the reconstruction of our families, our cities, and the economic engines needed to rebuild our urban centers. This includes the financing and support of people who look like us, of our minority contractors in rebuilding homes for our children. When you take a child and send them to 15 different schools because they are homeless or because they are not secure in terms of housing, that means that these children will not grow up normally. They cannot. So we're asking that our communities be included in the COVID monies as intended. We look forward to working with any and all of our elected officials who are committed to a just and equitable distribution of federal dollars to some of the most impoverished communities in our state. Thank you very much, and thank you, Senator Kelly, for your efforts.
Thank you very much, Cynthia. Next, I would like to introduce Gwen Samuel, the founder and president of the Connecticut Parents Union. Gwen?
Good morning, everyone. That's what I'm saying, good greetings. As the Senator stated, I'm Gwen Samuel, and I'm the president and the founder of the Connecticut Parents Union. We work to protect the educational rights of children, period, hard stop. And this pandemic has shown the ugliness that exists when it comes to ensuring children of Connecticut have access to the supports they need to get a quality K-12 educational experience. Connecticut gave $11 million in federal dollars for summer learning. Yet, as we speak to parents across the state, some of these programs had as little as 5 children in them, 20 children in there. It doesn't make any sense when we have over 500,000 students within the state of Connecticut, and every single one of the schools was closed. So why wouldn't we be looking at spending the dollars from a solution-based approach? And one of those solutions should have been that summer learning should have extended to year-round learning. There should have been before and after school programs. 40% of our child care centers were closed during this pandemic. What do you think that does to the private sector, where we had businesses, family-owned businesses of 30 and 40 years had to close their doors permanently? So to the legislators and to those who are making the decisions of how this money is spent, you do not get the luxury of spending this emergency crisis money any way you see fit. I have districts saying, oh, we got a couple of $1 million. What are we supposed to do with it? Who does that? Who says that? But those who are making poor decisions on behalf of the children. So what we are asking, that we demand as taxpayers, as voters, as small businesses, as veterans, as seniors, as adults, as working-age youth, we demand a public hearing. Because these legislators and the governor has been able to use his executive order power to circumvent the voice of the people. Connecticut people are quite capable of working with the governor to make informed and responsible and fiscally sound decisions to bring everybody up. It's not a black issue or just a white issue. It's a Connecticut people issue. We have children that went to private schools now having to use public school systems. We got schools in Hartford that have contaminated pieces. So I don't understand, why are we even having this discussion? But here we are. So it's not an ask, it is a demand. So either we will have a public hearing in the building, or we will have a public meeting outside the building. But make no mistake about it, there will be a public hearing. Because the people of Connecticut are hurting. And the very base of people that you close the businesses for, this money is pouring in, and then you expect the taxpayers to foot the bill. How can they foot the bill when you have closed their businesses? When you haven't ensured the money reach the most vulnerable? And that requires accountability on all levels, local, state, and federal. And the last thing I will say, and why I feel offended, because when I read arguments justifying the circumventing of the people, when I hear arguments that justify secret meetings, there should have never been a way that a legislator could allegedly misappropriate over $600,000. There should never have been a way for that to happen if we had appropriate checks and balances, if we had a transparent system. So I'm saying, so again, thank you, Senator Kelly, and to all the legislators here. I want you to be very clear from the position of Connecticut Parents Union. We don't care if you are a Democrat, a Republican, a green, a blue person, a yellow person. You need to do right by Connecticut's children and all of its citizens. This is not about partisan politics. This is about doing right by the people who put you in office. And I will close with saying this. If you want to keep being secrets, if you want to keep doing secret deals, then you will know the answer to how we feel about that come November 22.
Amen. Thank you.
Understand that and put that on your calendar, because that is an absolute fact. Because the people have woken up, the people are answering the call, and we are informed and engaged citizens demanding transparency and accountability, and it is non-negotiable. Thank you very much for your time. Oh, and plus we got all this crime going on. We better do something for the children. Thank you very much.
Drop the mic. Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Antonia Edwards, the co-founder of the grassroots organization group Solidarity. Antonia?
Thank you. Hi, I'm Antonia Edwards. I am the founder of Solidarity, which is a capital D. My co-founders are James Kidd from New London, from New Haven, and also Jonathan Bryant from New Haven. I want to first thank Senator Kelly for inviting us, Nicole for helping it together, and Ms. Bridget coordinated everything. Ms. Gwen Samuel, Mr. Reggie, Mrs. Cynthia have been fighting tirelessly for the last few weeks to get our message heard. I come from a more bottom line standpoint. I'm very compassionate, I'm very down to earth. I don't live in Hartford or any of the major underserved communities. However, I sit back and watch and I see what goes on and I talk to people in the community. I just want to first say that disparities and poverty have always existed in underserved communities. I'm from Boston, I've seen it my whole life. I must also state that COVID lifted the decorative veil that gave the illusion that everybody in Connecticut is doing very well. Connecticut is one of the most richest states, however, they have the most major underserved communities. Black and brown and Hispanic people live in the underserved communities in Connecticut, historically have been, and that's 3 of the 8 counties. So those counties are Hartford County, New Haven County, and also Fairfield County. Hartford has the most disparaging rates of poverty. When you look at these statistics from the actual census from 2020 and also from the welfare.com, you find that in the 2020 statistics, 35,000 out of 869 people in Hartford residents are in poverty. So that's out of 117,628 residents live below the poverty line. And then 30.5 averaging out of 1 out of 3.3 residents are in poverty in Hartford. This money was given to us as a gift, as an emergency fund, and shouldn't have been taken lightly. I've talked to many people in different meetings, and I've sat in meetings with senators and also states reps. None of the Bader community people or residents were invited to those meetings. So where were the community conversations? Where is the input from the community that are the most disparate? So for me, in Solidarity, we stand true and firm. We're collaborating with Ms. Cynthia Jennings, also Ms. Gwen Samuel, Ms. Bridget Prince, and also Mr. Reggie Hale. We want full disclosure and transparency on how these funds are going to be allocated and dispersed. We feel as though the community, the people who pay taxes, and the residents that are mostly affected by it are the most important people in getting the answers as to what's needed, not hand-picked organizations that really don't serve most of the communities. I want to also say that it's virtually impossible to not discuss the homeless, the potential homeless, the disabled community, gun violence, and also the major healthcare crisis in the community without talking to the people in the community. And so out of the list of things that we heard that may be potentially done as far as allocating funds, none of those things were mentioned. So we just have to do much better in our community, and our leaders who have appointed have to give back to the community and speak with people who matter. And to not be included in that and be eliminated from these conversations is a real slap in the face. We have organized and we have sent out many letters. We've done many press conferences. Also, Senator Kelly mentioned he did. Nobody's answering us. So silent is complicit. And so to us, we feel like it's a real slap in the face that people are starving and hurting and deaf and ill, and nobody wants to answer the questions as to where this money is going, who's in charge of the money, and how much community input is being involved with it. So I want to thank everybody again for allowing me to speak. I'm just a very bottom line person, very compassionate. Right is right and wrong is wrong, and this is very wrong. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
That's right, very wrong.
Next, we have the Reverendernestine Holloway.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Reverendernestine Holloway. I run Serenity House Ministries, and I'm a community activist. And I'm so glad that Senator Kelly decided to meet with us and talk with us and address our issues, to learn that some of our concerns is his. I stand on the back of a lot of preachers that came before me. You know, you got Abraham, Isaac, and then you got Paul, and then you got Dr. Martin Luther King. And I stand on the back of the Honorable Mayor who died, David Dinkins, and I say this, he had a saying, as the little ones, the big ones have the responsibility to take care of you. Whether you want to say poor with money or poor in spirit. Well, I find out the two are one. I would like to know, how does COVID money create millionaires and the poor is getting poorer? I can't understand that. And then you got our illustrious governor saying what he says, you know, not that we should listen. But what I will say is, how did his wife benefit from COVID money? Why are the companies that are closer to her or around her are millionaires? What are you doing with this money? This is taxpayers' dollars. It's not your personal money. Nobody gets to do what they want to do with that money. See, I thought the Constitution said we the people. It didn't say Democrat, it didn't say Republic, it didn't say the blue party, the green party. What it says is we the people. We have a right to know. Now everybody wants to be nice and say they want transparency. Well, I'm gonna FOIA. Being an advocate and being a preacher gives you advantages. I'm gonna FOIA everybody. And you better answer me, because I'll give a press conference in front of your door. I don't have a problem with that. It's supposed to go towards water. I'm a water person. Meriden got bad water, Hartford got bad water. A lot of places got a lot of water. They got lead, they got mold inside schools. This is what this money is for. What happened to the small businessman? See, because I run a nonprofit and I know they didn't give me any of the money, because I've been feeding the people that the money was supposed to go for. So why is it when you start asking questions, everybody get to run it? I know how 600 grand disappeared. They knew it disappeared. And as we FOIA towns and we begin to ask questions, see, because I don't care about race. All I care about is our children being taken care of. The next generation is important. What example are we teaching them? If you don't see it, it's okay. No. The devil is a liar, and so are all of them. I want to know where this money's going. I want to know who the contractors are. How did they get the contract? Did they bid for it? Did they not bid for it? Did you get it because of cronyism, nepotism? How did you get it? Who is deciding how it's being dispersed? Because it sure wasn't me, because nobody invited me to the party, because I'd have came. Why is it that our children are falling behind in reading, and we got money for the summer, we got money for the winter? There's a whole lot of money, so our children should be learning. The laptops disappeared, half of them didn't get them, they didn't work. Who is accountable for this? Why is this going on? And I do tell the people in Connecticut, partially some of this is you to blame. You allowed a governor to be tyranny, to operate in this fashion. So my advice to you is get up, and when 22 election comes in, you let them know. Either you let us know where that money is, or you lose your seat. I don't care if you're Republican, I don't care if you're Democrat, I don't care if you're We the People, I don't care what party you're from. I'm part of a party that's for the people. And the people need to rise up against this tyranny. They need to rise up and be counted. And if you don't vote, then don't bother me. I need you to get out there and vote and show up. This is gonna affect us down the line. What are our children going to, they can't afford to go to college. You don't close all the other schools. So what do we have? And we're not even gonna talk about the Green Day deal. God help us all. So what I'm proposing is that not only that we give an audit, before we get the audit, FOIA some of this information. Let's sit down and have a conversation, and I just don't want to be about talking. I want you to do. I want you to show up. I want you to tell us what's going on. Because if you don't tell me what's going on, this group behind me, we're going to figure it out. And I don't mind going to the mayor's or the governor's door and having a press conference right in front of his door. I did it when Koch showed up in New York City. I camped in front of his door, and I'll tell the governor I will bring my pajamas and my pillow and camp in front of yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Reggie Hales from Inquiring News. Reggie?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Kelly, for one, acknowledging this issue. We thank you because we have knocked on so many doors and been ignored by those that call us their constituents. One thing about COVID-19 is that it does not have a party. It is not Democrat, Republican, Independent. It is a disease that was here to kill and to continue to kill. It is not over yet. But one thing that brings me involved with these strong women is that it took them to have the courage to come forward and say, you made a promise, now fulfill it. The promise has not been fulfilled. I, as a merchant president in the north end of Hartford, representing HESPA, but also as a small newspaper publisher, have received more calls this year than ever in our 50-year history in regard to these issues of disparity. We can't get any help. We're not being listened to. We were told from the mayor of Hartford's office through his subordinates that you have 24 hours for not just a strategic area, but for 4 areas in the north end of Hartford to come together, put together their list, their wish list of what they would use COVID funds for. Not only is that a disrespect, that is not how business works. So quickly a list, and the money's still not here. So quickly a list was developed specifically for the use of COVID funds for projects that are oriented around COVID. Not for a little community organization that had needs prior to COVID to patch and repair their commercial parking lot, but to maybe help fill in the blanks of what was lost during the pandemic. We all know that many were hurt and some still are. Promises were made for and to us to underwrite some of the things that could not be done during COVID. Still to this day, our calls have gone on deaf ears. So some of us are Democrats that are tired of being non-represented or respected by our party. So we have to reach across and become and remember who we are. We are people in the state of Connecticut that have the right to enjoy, to mourn, to come together and do all we can do to take care of one another. So when we ask you a specific question, you have an obligation, elected official of the city of Hartford, to answer and to follow through. It is this organization in Hartford that says it is transparent. Well, Stevie Wonder can see that there's a problem with that. So we also sent letters to our Connecticut delegation in DC. And we did not get the respect of a reply to our request. They had aides that bumped it back to the governor's office for the state of Connecticut. Now that's like asking your bully to referee a fight in favor of your friend. I don't see the concept in that. So we're come to the point whereas, enough of what's been going on. I have asked for the COVID fund spending to freeze. Stop it right now. Because when you stop things, you kind of figure out and people move a little faster to answer your questions. So if we can't benefit for the benefactor of what the COVID funds were for, let's stop it so everyone can figure out what's going on here. I don't think one organization is more important than another. But I know that this community and the other urban centers of Connecticut, it was impoverished people who died first. When the vaccine was available, it was not urban areas that received the vaccine. Little be known, it was Avon. So, and we all know what happened to our seniors in our senior centers. So again, Senator Kelly, we applaud your attention to this issue. We will do anything in our power. We have not stopped here. Again, if you don't want to hear us now, hear us at the ballot box.
Thank you. And now I'd like to call up Bridget Prince, as well as Randy Watson from the Veterans for Black Lives Matter.
All right. Thank you, Bridget. Thank you.
I want to start, thank you everybody. I want to thank this team. They are absolutely awesome. I just sent them an email last night that I was moving on to another project, which is the $6 billion infrastructure money. That's the issue, because we also need to deal with that. But I wanted to start with a picture that I could show everybody. A lot of people talked about, here man, you want to hold one up? We talked several times, Martin Luther King Jr. was mentioned during our, during this. And I want to show you, Senator Kelly, thank you. This is Randy's sister, right here, with Martin Luther King. Yes. This is my father with Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali. So we're here to let everybody know we are these kids.
Yes.
We are King's kids.
Yes.
And just about everybody here is my age or from the same generation. This is why we are here seeking for everybody to come together. We're coming in a righteous spirit. We're coming because before I got here, I just left my mother and showed this to her. She smiled, looking at my daddy, of course, looking good with Muhammad Ali. But and then she saw Randy's sister, and she was like, go there and tell this story. We are here in Hartford, Connecticut, demanding to know what happened to the COVID relief funds, because this is what MLK would have done. He is here, he was here several times in Connecticut. In fact, he called Hartford the promised land. How is the state in this state right now? How is the capital of the state of Connecticut, where Martin Luther King Jr. called the promised land, in such a state of despair? So I wanted to actually close with this and thank everybody for coming. This is our motivation.
Yes.
This is our motivation. We are these kids in this picture.
Yes, we are.
You understand what I'm saying? Like I said, we don't come as Democrat, we don't come as Republicans. We come as children of humanities. You know, that's what we're seeking. We're seeking for somebody to say, wait a minute, Mayor Bronin, Senator Blumenthal, Senator Murphy, Congressman Larson, Governor Lamont, we're here to say you are going to stop using King's kids,
Right.
Prince's kid,
Yes.
and you know, you're going to stop going into the poor community and saying, oh, we love you, we love all the black kids, we love all the black people.
Come on.
But then you go and you take our poorness, you take our despair, you take our hopelessness, and then you go down to DC and you get millions upon billions upon trillions of dollars on the backs of our hardships.
Yes. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? You can no longer tell us, oh, we're Democrat, vote for us, vote roll A. You can't tell us that no more. Because I want to know, why is there a contaminated building, school sitting on Barber Street, where everybody knows it's contaminated, but you got luxury apartments coming up downtown?
Exactly.
And you can't even explain where, where that money came from. Well, actually, they can explain it. But I just wanted to say, this is our motivation here.
Yes.
We are King's kids. We are the kids in this picture, literally.
Yes.
So you can't expect us not to come, not to stay, not to move forward and speak on behalf of this. I wanted my mother, I want Randy's mother to see a change come in this lifetime. This is why I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Oh yeah, and I'm a vet on top of that. This going down. We got boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground. Thank you. Thank you again, Senator.
Right,
So much.
thank you. Well, thank you. We appreciate your advocacy.
This is what we do.